Jason from the Gaslight Baker Theater. We've been reading through Hank the Cowdog together, the first book, The Original Adventures of Hank the Cowdog by John R. Erickson. Take a minute to look down below. You can see the links to the website and the Facebook page for Hank the Cowdog, where you can find all manner of Hank goodness and have a good time with that. The Original Adventures of Hank the Cowdog. Chapter 6, Buzzards. I made my way north away from headquarters and up into the canyon country. If a dog was going to go wild, that was the place to go. Funny how good it felt walking away from everything, the job, the responsibility, the constant worry. And when I crossed the road there by the mailbox, I felt free for the first time in years. On the other side of the road, I stopped and looked back. Drover had followed me about 100 yards and stopped. He was watching. Maybe he thought I'd change my mind and go back. Maybe he was waiting for me to tell him to come on. I didn't. I ran my eyes over the ranch I had loved and protected for so many years. I waved farewell to Drover, and I went on my way. I wondered how Loper and Slim and Sally Mae would react when they figured out that I had resigned and moved on. I had an idea they'd be sorry. They'd realize how they'd done me wrong and misjudged me and accused me of terrible things I didn't do. I mean, all I did was eat a dead chicken, and she wasn't a bit deader when I finished than when I started. Maybe they'd cry. Why not? A lot of people cry over their dogs. They tell me that when Lassie and Rin Tin Tin were big on TV, people used to cry when they thought Lassie was in a jam she couldn't get out of. And when Rennie had got himself chewed up by a bear and appeared he wouldn't pull out of it. People never realize just how important a dog is until it's too late. In life, we get yelled at and cursed and kicked around, but when we're gone, people wish they had us back. Yeah, they'd cry when they found out that old Hank had moved on, and they'd cry even harder when it dawned on them that their ranch was being protected, and I mean so-called protected, by Pete the Cat and Drover the Chicken-Hearted. That'd wring tears out of a boat arc post. Yep, they'd cry and they'd say, "Oh, I wish we had Hanky back. He had his faults, but he was a good, honest dog. It won't be the same around here without him." Around sundown, they'd walk out into the pasture and call, "Here, Hank! Come on, Hanky! Here, boy!" And you know what? I'd be up in them canyons, eating fresh meat instead of co-op dog food, listening to the sounds of nature and enjoying pure peace and freedom. I'd hear them calling my name, begging me to come back, but I wouldn't go. They'd had their chance. I tried to go straight and live within the law, but they drove me to drastic measures, drove me to follow the Owl Hoot Trail and become an outlaw. Next morning, they'd get in the pickup and go driving around, checking all the spots where I used to hang out, the sewer, the gas tanks, the corral, the creek, but I wouldn't be there. They'd drive over to the neighbor's place. "Anybody seen Hank? We lost our cow dog." "No?" "Well, we're offering a $500 reward to anybody who finds him." They'd start driving through the pastures, honking the horn and calling, "Hank, here, boy, come on home, Hanky. We missed you. We're sorry for everything we done. We'll do anything if you'll just come home." Laying off in them canyons, I'd hear them calling. Peeking through the rocks, I'd see them driving slow across the pasture, but I wouldn't go back. Injustice had changed me, turned me bitter, and snapped something inside me. Anyway, that's what I was thinking about when I turned my back on the ranch forever and hit the Owl Hoot Trail. They say you're not supposed to feel good about other people's misfortunes, but I got to admit that it gave me considerable wicked pleasure to know that I had left them weeping, and that with me gone, the ranch was going to fall apart real quick. That's the kind of satisfaction that dog food and the flea collar just won't buy. Must have been late afternoon when I reached the wild country up near the head of one of them canyons. It was pretty hot down there, not much breeze. The canyon walls rose up 100 feet in the air, and a couple of buzzards floated in the sky overhead. I was pretty tired, My feet was kind of sore from walking over the rocks, so when I found a little spring of water, I jumped in and rolled around. It was pleasant, but not nearly as satisfying as a roll in the sewer. That was one thing about my old life I'd miss. I always looked forward to the middle of the day when me and Drover used to go down to the place where the septic tank overflowed, hop in and splash around and roll with our paws in the air, then get out and have a good old-fashioned head-to-tail shake. You can say what you want about spring water, but if you ask me, it ain't near as refreshing or healthful as good old septic tank water. And I always liked the deep, rich, manly smell of it. A dog ought to smell like a dog, seems to me, and I never had no desire to be one of them town dogs to get their hair clipped and their toenails painted and get sprayed all over with that stinking perfume stuff. Perfume gives me a headache, stops up my nose. Anyway, that spring pool wasn't as refreshing as the sewer would have been, but I managed to cool myself down and satisfy my thirst. I wallowed around in it for 10 or 15 minutes, and when I was ready to get out, I noticed that I had some company. Those buzzards that had been floating around the rim of the canyon had dropped in for a visit, 2 of them. They were perched on the ground near the edge of the pool, staring at me. Well, I showed them some fangs right away. I mean, I try to be friendly and all that, but there's just something about a buzzard that don't sit right with me. Maybe it's because they're so ugly. Looks ain't everything in this life unless you happen to look like a turkey buzzard, and then they're pretty crucial. It's hard to be friendly to something that ugly. I gave them a growl. They bent their necks forward and stared at me. Then Wallace, the older of the 2, said, "We thought maybe you was dead. Thinking gets birds like you in trouble. Run along, I got things to do." They didn't move, so I stepped out on a dry land area and shook myself. Throwed water all over Wallace. He dropped his wings, took a couple of steps backward. "He ain't dead, Junior. You made a mistake." "I tell you, he's dead, Pa. I know he is." Junior seemed to have a little stutter problem. "When I pick up a signal, something's dead. Remember that ground squirrel? I picked him up at 500 yards, and what did you say?" Wallace frowned and squinted one eye. "I don't recall. What did I say?" "You said I was seeing things. You said my eyes were hooked up to my belly. It's coming back now. And you said I don't have enough experience. And when I got as old as you, maybe I'd amount to something." "I was trying to be optimistic, son. You can't blame me for that." Wallace burped, and the whole canyon went sour. "Whew, dang, I'm hungry. I'm telling you, Pa, he's dead. I picked up the signals. They moved a little closer and looked me over real careful. "Junior, if he's dead, how come he crawled out of the water hole? Beats me. And how come his eyes are open and he's looking back at us? Beats me, but he's dead." "Well, maybe so, son. I never claimed to know everything." You did too, yesterday morning." All right, I take it back." "Hey," his head shot up in the air, "I'm starting to pick up the signals now. He is dead. You're right." "Told you so." They came toward me. I watched them and lifted my lip up on the right side. "Whoa, Junior, hold it, son. Did you see that lip go up? Did you see them teeth? Look there, son. See what I'm saying?" Junior stretched out his skinny neck and studied me for a minute. That don't mean nothing, Pa. I'll prove it. And with that, Junior marched up and pecked me on top of the head. Now, as you might imagine, I didn't care for that, and I took a snap at Junior and relieved him of a double handful of feathers. The buzzards went running for cover. The old man tripped over a rock, went down, hopped up, kept going, looking back over his wing the whole time. "I told you he wasn't dead. Pa, I told you once, I told you twice, I told you 3 times. Pa, you're going to keep fooling around and get us hurt one of these days. But Pa, what's that around his neck?" "Huh?" They were back to looking again. "That's where the signal's coming from. That thing under his chin." Old Wallace's eyes popped open and a smile came over his beak. "I believe you're right, son. It's a chicken head." Wallace put on a pleasant face, for a buzzard, and came waddling over to me. "Hi there. You new around here?" "Maybe. Well, I'm Wallace, and this here's Junior, and we was just, what would you take for that chicken head? What you got? They went into a huddle. Then the old man said, tell you what, neighbor, times are hard right now. My eyes is going bad on me, and Junior's a little on the, well, simple-minded side. We haven't had a good meal in 3 days. We sure are hungry, and we sure could use a chicken head right now. Till our luck changes, we'd have to take it on credit is the long and short of it. We would do you a favor sometime. Wallace nodded his head. Yes, we would. We surely would, because we never forget a good deed. I thought it over. Seemed to me that trading a stinking chicken head for a buzzard's goodwill was about an even swap. You couldn't take either one of them to the bank. Tell you what, boys, if you can chew this string in half, I'll let you have the head. Their eyes lit up. Junior started toward me, only the old man slapped him across the mouth with his wing. I'll handle this. You just stand by for further orders. Wallace waddled over and squinted at the string, leaned out his neck and took a bite. It got my ear instead of the string. I yelped and jumped away. I'm sorry, dang again, it's my eyes. Let me try it again. All right, try again, but leave the ear where it sits. He tried again, and this time he found the string, chewed it in half. Just as soon as the head hit the ground, Junior made a dive for it, swooped it up in his beak, and ran off. The old man went after him, flapping his wings and stumbling over rocks and things. Junior, you come back here, Junior! They fought over it for 5 minutes. First Junior had it, then Wallace had it. Then they got so busy fighting that it fell to the ground. A chicken hawk swooped down and picked it up, and that was the last they ever saw of their supper. That stopped the fight. See what you've done, Wallace squawked. You done it because you're so greedy. It was about dark by this time, so I found myself a comfortable spot and curled up for the night. Junior and Wallace argued back and forth for another hour, until at last they shut up and we had some peace and quiet. I was drifting off to sleep when I heard Junior's voice. Pa? What? I'm hungry. You ought to be after the way you acted. Silence. Pa? What? You ever eat a dog? I raised my head. The first son of a buck that comes creeping around here in the night is going to get his legs tore off, one by one. Didn't hear another sound out of them birds for the rest of the night, and they didn't stay for breakfast.